It was Halloween week in the mod collection. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Easily the spookiest one this week is Perdition Picnic, 5,299. It has a friendly yet ominous sounding name, and if you check your definition here, yeah, that's not such a good word. So basically the title of this one is Going to L in a Handbasket. But I like what they've done here, a really nice dark border with a checkered board pattern. However, some of them are a little bit crisper than the others. Like this one right here, it seems to stand out more, whereas the rest over here are really blurry and out of focus. If this was just a checkered board pattern with a burst, I honestly wouldn't like it that much, but it's that soft, out of focus with the shadows underneath that gives it that really spooky vibe. Then of course you get your red switch tip, we have these interesting see-through knobs. They decided to throw those small button tuners on it, but at least they left our truss rod cover alone. And while they didn't continue on the design on the neck or the body, they did kind of give it a stinger in a roundabout way, but whoa, DS0140 with the mod collection decal. That's interesting because previous to that, I think we were saying, 207 was the lowest one we've seen? This had to have been sitting around for a while and they're like, yeah, let's save that for the Halloween week. And they decided to apply the decal. If you're hungry, they had a glam bake this week. It was one for the lefties, super silver and sparkly, very similar to the fancy shell that we put all over in our guitars, but a very unique pickup combination, P90 humbucker, great set. But then to extra bling it out, you've got the gold hardware everywhere, matching gold knobs, no pick guard, no poker chip. Headstock relatively left alone, and then a complete matching refinish on the back. And another one lower than we've seen before. 191 with the mod collection decal. They don't always release these things in order. But next up, a celebration in red sparkle. With the new modernized Les Paul Supreme, seeing the Super 400 inlays on a custom isn't as special anymore, but I don't think that's what this model is. It's just a regular Les Paul custom with the Nashville style bridge in this new kind of red metallic finish. To dress it up a little bit more, they did a special style tuner tip, Schaller in style, which dates back at least to the 80s when Gibson started doing that outside of like the really fancy high-end arch tops. And then the back is just a complete matching red, although it looks like you can vaguely see through to the wood grain yet. It's very prevalent right here on the body. This one is 209. Those appear to be locking tuners. If the clams didn't fill you up, you got some salmon here, jammin'. Kind of an off pink color, not my favorite, but I could see why somebody might enjoy it. They've ditched our pick guard, gave you witch hat knobs. It's a 64 reissue, so you get custom buckers, 2 and 3. And the back is completely matching, and it's a gloss finish. With not much changed on our headstock outside of our truss rod cover. But now we've got an Access Custom in Rockin' Rojo. If you're not familiar, rojo is red in Spanish, so rockin' red. It seems to be a really flat red color. Reminds me of the Neon series of Access Customs. You never see these things pop up for sale. I wouldn't mind having the green, orange, yellow, or maybe even the hot pink in the collection. Certainly not your traditional Les Pauls. This one certainly looks similar, but you get the covered neck pickup and the uncovered bridge. Headstock is your usual Floyd Rose stuff, and the back is a complete matching flat red in a gloss finish. And it's DS Serial 226. I think one of my favorite ones this week is the Radioactive Sapphire 60 reissue. For $5,200, you get the anomaly of, hey, this is a 1960 reissue with a green finish, and then you get a blue border. All right, that's strange, but then you get P90 pickups, so it's really like a 56 reissue. That's not the only time that's happened. A long time ago, I had an R9 that was spec'd out with P90 pickups. But this one's certainly different with that finish style. But outside of our Les Paul model missing, everything's the same up here. And then, whoa, crazy stuff back here. Bright blue and then kind of a darker color. They even gave us a nice side profile shot so you can understand what it would look like in your arms. But this one is DS Serial 227. Kind of reminds me of the Crocomelon that we had reviewed from the mod collection, just without the blue. We also had a Cyan Dusk 59 at a very slight premium. But to be fair, it's quite gorgeous if you like the perimeter burst style finish and a dark blue. Otherwise, it just looks strange because you have black plastics on a reissue, which you don't normally find, along with those ambered over knobs and a new black truss rod cover. And the back is a matching metallic blue all over. This photo kind of helps show that off as well, but it's number 236. But here's a fun string of words, bursted burgundy bourbon. 3,900, man, that turned out really dark. It appears to be a satin open poured finish. They did all the voodooifications to it. So black and red pickups, you got the black and red knobs as well as the poker chip. But everything else appears to be a chrome finish. And if we adjust the coloring here, you can see it's kind of like a reddish burst. It's just really dark. And we've got these obnoxiously large Grover tuners on the face of the headstock. And then, okay, I like the back. It's like a natural burst effect. It's probably where the bourbon comes from. But no new serial on that. And okay, that's why those Grovers look strange. What are those? It's like mini Grovers, but the body is still huge. And it just has the jut style and the really small buttons. And does avocado go with fish? I don't know, but they offered it in the Les Paul Classic Avocado Rind Blast. I see what they were going for, because sometimes certain avocados do have a light bluish tint to it. But then they gave you the cream zebra bobbin pickups to match with the binding, and then black plastics everywhere else. The reflectors really pop off, kind of matches the inlays in a roundabout way. Headstock is now blank outside of our classic truss rod cover. And ooh, I like the back even more. It's kind of like the Bourbon Burst one, but this time it's a black with that kind of tealish green. I really enjoy that. I would like to see this done up again, but like maybe on a Les Paul Studio or something that doesn't have uncovered pickups. But it appears the headstock they did not burst. And then I don't think I talked about this one last week, but it's Hot Pepper Blast, or 6700. It's got this reddish flame top, very evenly, but almost no burst at all, which you don't find too often on a reissue style guitar. A very interesting fretboard on that. The inlays are oddly yellow and transparent. Makes it look like the fretboard got cooked up by how hot the guitar is. And then the back is just a dark gloss cherry. The headstock was all scorched, and it bears the number 242. And if you look closely, you can see the Mod Collection decal. But checking out the EU Mod Collection, it was purple week. In fact, looking at all their offerings, the first 7 are purple. But only 3 were new this week, starting with the 80s Explorer. Seems to be a natural fitting hue, but you've got your metal knurled knobs changing things up, as well as covered humbuckers, which have been swapped out to 57 classics. No stingers or other funny business, it's just a complete satin purple with a regular Gibson logo. Now we have the King's Ransom Purple 60 Standard. That's a good purple color. Very dark, but you can tell it's gonna shift in the light. But what really transforms this one is the custom style pickguard, because you got the whole multi-layers of stuff going on instead of single ply. But then our binding is creamy. But I didn't see anything about King's Ransom. They're just being funny, right? Wrong. That's a fun one. Gold back, almost a slightly brighter gold neck. That could just be the color shift in the light. But then, to match the top, you get an extended purple stinger. The purple and gold complement each other very well. And here's a side profile shot of how you'll see the guitar. Not surprised that sold. But if you need to dial things back just a little bit, you got old 70s Deluxe Sparkle Purple top here for not that much less. However, you get to play around with P90 pickups this time. The purple seems similar to the last one, but maybe not as deep. But the gold hardware is an interesting choice, and the pickguard really stands out on this. They fancified our headstock just a tad with the brass truss rod cover, but instead of gold and Stinger City, it was just left natural. But now let's briefly check in with the USA side demo shop. They continue to list a whole bunch of guitars from all across the ranges, but don't mind me as I slowly go through these. I forgot to condense the list down. So let's see if we can find something interesting together, because this is what I do every week for every single listing. I go through the photos and try to find something interesting out of them. Like this one has got a couple of dings. Probably wouldn't normally share that. Over here, 60s J45, nothing too crazy here, just some chattered binding. Here's a regular Les Paul Custom, but with uncovered pickups. Kind of an old serial number, but not old enough to be interesting. 2021 wasn't that long ago. Burgundy 50s standard. There's another 50s in a flame top as the typical nut correction. 60s faded. Okay, this is a little interesting. You don't see the Dave Mustaine's every single day. Whoa, with like a cut in the finish. How does that happen? Somebody's screwdriver must have slipped. Then we got a TV Yellow SG Standard. Looks like somebody took this on their lunch break and spilled mustard on it before they clear coated. I would love to say that's like a buffed through area, but I'm not sure if that is. Maybe it's a botched touch up. Like a store tried to touch it up for the customer and then they hated how it turned out, so they sent it back to Gibson. There's got to be a story on that one, but they had one of the Victory Figures 2100, which is some contamination in the finish. This thing was genuinely cool. Gecko green metallic for technically a discount. Can't go wrong there. Yeah, it's got some dings by the back plate. If you look close enough on any first quality, you'll usually find something if you really want to. Well, this just reminds me of Alien Tech green. But speaking of green, here's Inverness. Whoa. That is a freak. I almost want to document it. They did a terrible job matching up that mahogany body, but in a way that it's almost actually cool. We talk about this quite often on the show. Two pieces of wood, exact same finish, are going to look different because of the color of the wood itself. This is all the same species. Mahogany, mahogany, mahogany. But this one has more of like a flat brown, whereas this is like a really reddish brown. I would say the neck matches great with that, but then you're just left with Mr. Sandy Bottom over here. It's endearing is the best way to put it. If that was like $500 cheaper, I'd buy it. But now, Silver Mist, SG Standard. Love the modern day SG Standards, but whoa, what is going on with that nut? That's definitely been replaced. But yet, it doesn't look like it. Are they experimenting with what they put on these things? Or did it somehow get dyed? Down here it says nut integrity. Nut is somewhat discolored. I would say so. And they also had another one of these USA Coronets for $1,400. And we were talking about the EU purples. Check out this thing. 59 reissue gloss purple. $7,000. I was actually here for the launch of this one. I was like, yeah, that's gonna sell. It's a very light purple. You can almost still see some of the natural maple peeking through. And you don't find many purple R9 reissues, but there is a big demand for it. But it's got a really nice dark natural back. Hey, they actually got us a nice close-up of the natural peeking through. It kind of reminds me of the Les Paul Peace model. They had a purple one that was very similar to this, although maybe not as good of tops. This was interesting because I don't remember this being a color. Dark Walnut Les Paul Studio. It's one of the newer studios that has the binding. This might be a Gibson.com exclusive I forgot about. But we can go to the Gibson page. Cherry Sunburst, Wine Red, Blueberry Burst, Ebony. But if we come to the exclusives section, I don't see it. So personally, I would call this one either a leak or they decided to not produce it. And if that's the case, then you have a custom color. So in 5 years, if they don't make this, then this particular one could have a very slight premium to it. But it sold at $12.99. And then they had one of these satin victories that sold rather quickly for $16. But all right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.